playing and rearranging the so popular blues, Blue Monk, Thelonious Monk original. That was Al Strong. Oh my goodness. And I have him in front of me. I want to get into it, but you are listening to 90.7 WNCU member supported radio, WNCU Cares Artist Series, and we're taking a look and a listen to local artists in the area. And this is the third week. This week is Al Strong. We had John Brown last week, and we opened with Mavis Swan-Poole. So I'm so excited to have friends in the station. Welcome, Al Strong. How are you?
Great, Serena. Thanks for having me. You gave me an opportunity to put my sweatpants in the washing machine, put on some clothes. So I'm grateful to be here.
Oh, man. Well, you're looking dapper right now. So sorry, you all. You can't see how fresh he looks. So I guess you'll see it soon with the video. But I have Al Strong in here. And Al, you're not a native of Durham, but it's like your home, I imagine. So you were born in D.C., and then you made your way to Durham. Mm-hmm. So tell us the story of how you made your way to Durham.
Well, I actually was born in Georgia.
Ooh.
Yeah. Cause,
somebody didn't do their homework. I'll raise my hand on that one.
No, it's fine. But everybody, assumes I was born in D.C., but I was an Army brat,
Oh, so you moved around.
Age. Yeah. And not a whole lot, because by the time I came around, my dad was pretty much stationed in the U.S. After that. So D.C. became my home shortly after I was born. And, that's what happened. But I have a long history with North Carolina because my grandparents are from North Carolina.
And they raised you
in
DC
they raised
area?
me for a good part of my early years. Yeah. Yeah, in D.C. They raised me in D.C. So, real down-home folk. My granddad was from Rockingham, North Carolina.
I have an uncle from there.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had chickens, and you know what I'm saying? It was
small town America.
Yeah, it really felt like, going to the country when I would visit my great-granddad. And my grandmother's from Wilson, so I have a long history with this area. And during my high school years, she moved back to Wilson. Sold the house, left D.C., and so the woman who I call my adopted mom, Gladys Bray, who was an educator at Duke Ellington School of the Arts, took me in her home so I could finish my schooling in D.C., and I'm forever grateful because of those experiences at Duke Ellington. Really it set me on my current course, what have you.
What did you do there? I mean, it's a prestigious school for one.
Yeah, I mean, it's even more amazing now from what I understand, because they had like a total facelift. They did a whole remodel and all of that.
Yes.
And so it's pretty state of the art from what I'm hearing. I'm pretty jealous in a way, but it's like. I'm reluctant to see it at the same time because, it'll be probably a really emotional kind of reunion with the school. But, yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was a type of learning environment. We would have jazz band rehearsal before class started. Wow. And then we would have one later on in the afternoon. And at any point, we'd have artists like, you'd walk into rehearsal and like Terrence Blanchard would be in there just kicking it, with our director, Davey Yarborough, whose birthday I think is today, too. So
Happy birthday, Taurus Nation.
Right. So, we'd be rehearsing, and then, without notice, Herbie Hancock would walk in or something.
Wow.
Or Winton, and, we would get to, we would gain some mentorship from these greats, and invaluable experience. We played a lot of the major jazz festivals, Montreux and North Sea jazz festivals when I was in high school, and so like a young age, you were traveling across the world. Right, exactly. And
so that was like your foundation of learning jazz, or did it happen before that?
No, I was new to jazz, and I actually didn't start attending Duke Ellington to the 10th grade. It started in 9th grade.
Okay.
But I auditioned, I was accepted. I came in 10th grade, and that was when I first began taking trumpet lessons and learning about jazz.
Yeah, I saw that
culture.
you were learning about tone production. So that was your foundation of learning about tone production.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing. So all you do,
right.
You have any words for anybody that's learning trumpet?
Oh, yes, certainly. I mean, I always tell my students this too, but sound is king, right? And so, and the main reason that my lessons began that way in high school is because my teacher, though he was a jazz player, he was real reluctant to sort of teach jazz. He would always say, like, I don't want to mess you guys up or whatever, I mean, because I can understand that.
That's an excellent teacher.
Yeah, right.
Say that.
I can understand that, there's so many different approaches to teaching and learning jazz,
For sure. Because I guess it's a different approach when you're playing classical versus playing jazz. Just the embouchure or the way you is it? It's
really mental.
Okay.
I always tell my students that too. Is playing the trumpet or really any brass instrument, I believe, is 90% mental and only 10%, physical. Of course, you're talking about chops and endurance and things of that nature. But yeah, so I think, of course, listening is the most important component to being a good musician. So you listen and you practice, classical, and you put yourself in that character when it's time to, perform that service or whatever. And then, I think the same thing with jazz. So, it's, I don't see a difference in terms of like the way that the trumpet is played, in a broader sense. You can go like really in detail and talk about, okay, this is what, you go for when you're playing either style, but it's just a
gears.
sound.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
They're both just sounds, to me, and I think that sort of cuts right to the meat of what you want to get to when you're dealing with different styles.
Well, cutting to the meat, this song, Blue Monk, it's a nice arrangement. I enjoy that. What was your thought process when you wrote the song?
Well,
we've heard it 10,000 times.
Well, I was telling you on break that actually a colleague of mine texted me the other day, just out of the blue. It's great to wake up to these kind of text messages. Said, "Al, man, I'm telling you, man, your Blue Monk is my favorite, man. It's the funkiest version I've ever heard.
It is."
And I, I'm trying to think back because some of these arrangements are born on the stage, and then some are born in the studio.
Okay.
And for this one, I've always had an affinity for Caribbean music, and because I played in a steel band. Like when I was in my high school years, my
you were playing trumpet in the steel band?
No, I was playing what they call six bass.
Six bass. Tell me about that.
So the steel drum.
The actual
steel drums are native to Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, yes.
And actually we had a cultural exchange with them. Yeah, we would go over there every other year. That's a whole other thing. But of course,
we
the
have
steel
a little
drum
time.
yeah, okay, well, cool. But the six bass is, and all steel drums are fashioned out of old oil drums, right?
Yes.
And so they have different configurations of what they call the bass in a steel band or steel drum orchestra or whatever, what have you. And so they can be 6, 9, 11, 12 pieces, whatever. But I play six bass.
Okay.
And so on each drum, there are 3 notes. And usually the drums go in fifths.
Okay.
So you'll on the same oil drum, you'll have like...
and for fifths, for our listeners, I assume that everybody that's listening to our jazz station is well versed in theory, but for our fifths, intervals, you're speaking about intervals or pitches.
Right,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So 5 steps away. If you just count 5 alphabets away, you'll get to what we call a fifth, right?
I like that.
All right.
Simplicity is the key.
Right. So on one steel drum, you would have like a low C, a high C, and then a G, probably like a middle G. So that's our 5th note, right? And so, that's how the 6 basses are configured. Then, of course, you have what they call double seconds, which are, the configuration of notes are totally different. But they're fashioned in traditional music sense where you have a low end, you have your tenor voice, you have your alto voice, and your soprano voices.
Okay. So low, mids, and highs. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so beautiful instrument. So on the weekends when everyone, meaning my peers, were like at DC Youth Orchestra or dealing with their like primary instruments, I was actually rehearsing with the steel band or performing.
So nice. So nice.
So my again, my love for Caribbean music, I think is sort of showcased in Blue Monk, and my love of New Orleans, music. I mean,
I hear that.
Yeah, the more we listen to these different styles, we hear these, similarities that, just it begins to like, draw the lineage where, where's the stuff,
So you're giving us a history lesson.
Well,
through your music.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's nice when you don't have to talk; you just play.
There you go. Why don't we play some more music? I like this blues. I do want to play CJ's blues next. Is there a story?
Oh, that's actually C's blues, and probably my font isn't.
My apologies. Maybe my reading's off.
Okay.
C's
right.
blues.
Yeah,
I've been saying CJ's blues for the entire time. So C's blues. Tell me about C's blues.
Well, people really love this track. It was written, and I've told the story numerous times, but it was written for my fellow co-founder of the Art of Cool project, Cicely Mitchell, and so our nickname for her is C,
okay.
Right? C.I.
Gotcha. Hey C, I don't know if you're listening.
So and yeah, I mean, people love this tune. It's a blues, right? It's in a meter that we call 3/4. And what I tried to do was just sort of, make it I wouldn't say a little more interesting, but it definitely moves in a different way than what we would consider traditional jazz blues, as is, I think, really like a sort of unspoken rule amongst jazz musicians and jazz educators. That's like the foundations for what we do, being able to not only improvise over the blues, but, fashion original compositions around this general structure of what we call the blues, and so
it's like jazz rites of passage.
Yeah,
you have to.
Thank you. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And I remember this was several years ago. I had a chance to play this tune with some members of Jazz at Lincoln Center down in Charlotte. I think, was it a Charlotte Jazz Fest? Maybe it was a one-off thing. No, it was probably Charlotte Jazz Fest, but I was on Brian Miller's show. I was on his set. And, I think Vincent Herring came out, Kenny Rampton.
Wow. All-stars.
Yeah. I mean, just, in the jazz world, really well-known, solid musicians. They come with, great spirit and, encouragement and everything. But they loved the tune as well. And there was talks about, we're still sort of talking about getting somebody from Lincoln Center to arrange this for the band. So,
wow.
But yeah, so, I mean, blues.
Well, you set that up really nicely. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Al Strong share his stories and his musical success in the career of a jazz musician, and not only a jazz musician, but an educator, a composer, an arranger, an all-around great guy. So here is his composition entitled C's Blues. You're listening to member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series. Trumpeter Al Strong on C's Blues off of his album Love Strong Volume 1. In stores now. Get your copy today. And I have All Strong I said All Strong. I know you from way back when, but I have Al Strong in the studio with me. This is a part of WNCU Cares Artist Series, and he is amazing, phenomenal musician, and you wrote this song, C's Blues. You set us up before that, but who'd you have on there?
Right. Well, shouts out to J.C. Martin, one of the most soulful guitar players I know.
Yes.
Who gave us that great intro. And, it's cool when you work with a musician, and you put them on the spot and they just deliver like that. So that's awesome. James Gates was on alto saxophone. That's Lance Scott on the greasy bass. And
greasy bass. Nice.
Iaji Hamden on drums. I think that was, who was that? What's that on piano? I think that was Ryan Hanseller. You're taking me back now.
Taking you back. Yeah, you're right. He was on that album.
Right.
Look, I have it in front of me. But, it doesn't sound like the typical blues. And so you didn't have it.
Right.
When I hear blues,
right.
Well, my mind frame of blues is like, it's supposed to be in a minor key, it's supposed to be about gut-wrenching feelings. But what was your you said it was for your friend.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, I didn't finish that story, but so when we in our early stages of venturing into starting the Art of Cool project, like anything, there are ups and downs. There are like days where everything is going great, and nobody's late to the shows or anything like that. And then there are days where it feels like what isn't going to go wrong, right? So so that was sort of my musical take on that, that process, the ups and downs of running a business, so to speak. So we talked about, you mentioned on the break about some of the harmony in that tune, and
right.
So what we call the one chord is like the tonal center of this tune, and then I want to say probably like 4 bars, 5 bars later, on the 5th bar we go to what we call the 4 chord, and you pointed out something about like some rub in the harmony, what we would call rub in the harmony. So the 4 chord goes to it stays in sort of a major tonality or dominant tonality, but then we go to a minor tonality, but the melody actually stays major. So,
intentional.
Yeah, it's intentional, and I don't know. I don't mind taking risks when it comes to music. You know, I mean, there are different technical ways you can kind of explain why it works. You know, to the average ear. I mean, you're a musician, you have great ears, and you pointed this out, like, you know, right here. And I'm glad we could have this conversation. But to the average ear, maybe it doesn't sound like it's rubbing.
They might move their head
slightly
a little bit to the right or left, like something's not.
Right. So what we're talking about is when it goes boo-ba-doo, booby-doo, a bloo-ba-dee-doo, bit-boo-dee. Right. So that second phrase right there is the minor chord, but we stay with the major tonality. And I mean, I think it works because the motive is established.
Yes.
So no matter what the harmony's doing, it still sort of speaks.
It's like what you learn and you just throw it out. Because it's what you feel, ultimately. I mean, how does it make you feel? It made me feel great.
Right.
I love this song.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about the blues is, we acknowledge that we have the blues, that, maybe we're not having the best of days, but we play our way into, a joyous state of mind, if you will,
like that.
by acknowledging the blues. And that's what I tried to convey with that tune.
You conveyed it well. Al Strong, everyone. This is Al Strong on trumpet. He's a trumpeter, educator, and a jazz and music aficionado. And he is in the station with me right now. You're listening to his album. We're going to be playing more of his music. But after the short pause, we'll play a song from his album, Love Strong, Volume 1, and it's entitled Voyage. And do you have any history about this song?
Yeah, Voyage is composed by the great Kenny Barron, pianist Kenny Barron, and I've just always, loved the tune. It's a minor key. I love minor tunes. The progressions really keep you on your toes. Like, you can't really settle into something and like get comfortable in a way. You have to just constantly kind of be prepared for the harmony. And in my research, researching different recordings and renditions of this tune, I didn't find anything that really did it for me other than Kenny Barron's recording.
Okay.
And I was, I'm just all about that. Like, how can we, take this tune, really, highlight the name Voyage. And so some decisions were made even in the studio that we should make some passes, do some takes in this style that you hear. So it starts off as like a bossa and of type, so more like a rumba, I guess you would say. And then we sort of morph into this modern jazz thing that, that was just really spontaneous.
That sounds like a great place to be spontaneous. In the studio right now, improvisation. That's what we're about here. So you're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series, and after the short pause, you'll hear the sounds of Voyage, played by Al Strong and his crew at 90.7 WNCU. Kenny Barron's Voyage, played by Al Strong, recomposed or rearranged by Al Strong. Mm-hmm. And you're listening to member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. And I'll let Al tell me who's on the track.
On this track, we have Jeremy Bean Clemens on drums and Amin Salim on bass. Both are former classmates of mine from North Carolina Central University. And actually, me and Amin go all the way back to Duke Ellington. He was one of the D.C. kids who came down a year before I came down to attend North Carolina Central.
So he brought you in, or was that somebody else that brought you in?
What, that brought me in?
Central.
Well, actually, the story goes, when we were at Duke Ellington, I think we were at North Sea in Amsterdam with the jazz band, and at the same time, Dr. Wiggins was there with North Carolina Central's jazz ensemble, and so we were both sort of recruited at the same time. I just happened to be a grade behind he and some of my other peers from the time. So that's what happened. Lavelle Bradford's on piano, and Blue Thompson's on saxophone.
Yeah, it was out there. You said to rearrange,
yeah.
And you did that.
Well, thanks. We started out with the progression. It was just slower, the actual progression for the tune, Voyage. And, later we just really abandoned that progression. And what you hear at the end, I guess, coming out of all the weirdness, is the way that Voyage is typically played, which is dee-dee-dee-doo, dee-dee-doo, dee-dee-dee-doo, I mean, it's a burner, what we call a burner. So, we did have an opportunity to sort of acknowledge that on some level.
Effortlessly, I must add. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's what I like about, you studied, you played so long that it just is comfortable, the way you approach the horn. And I'm striving to get that way. Thanks so much for playing that. Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. So you've been listening to Al Strong tell his stories about his plight through his musical career, and it's been a pretty successful one. I know I don't want to jump around, but you're a part of AOC. Well, you co-led AOC Art of Cool and Start of Cool for the young babies that are learning music, and you're setting a great foundation for them. And you also teach elsewhere in Wilson, and you just CEO, president of companies, and just the list goes on. For more information, if you do want to get in contact with Al Strong, he is on alstrongmusic.com, and he'll provide the email address if you really need to get in contact with him. But definitely check him out on his website at alstrongmusic.com. You've been listening to songs from his album. I want to slow things down just a little bit, or should we talk a little bit more? Should we slow things down?
It's fine. It's
either way.
I'm good either way.
Well, we have a little bit more time before we get to the top of this set. So here's a ballad from Al Strong. It's entitled Lily's Lullaby. And I've been listening to this song. And he's also on Spotify. So go ahead and put in Al Strong. It'll pop up, save playlist, and go ahead and take a listen. And I'm certain that some people actually on my Instagram page, they were like, well, how can we find him? Where is he? How do we get to this interview? So people are listening.
Great.
Tell me about Lily's Lullaby.
Lily's is one of my favorite ballads. It was written, I mean, we're all grown here. So before I used to just kind of tell the surface part of the story. But, basically I was in college. I met a young lady, we thought we were having a kid.
Nice.
kid wasn't mine.
Oh, man.
After many months later, find out, hey.
This is a children's program as well. So ladies.
Right. So this is life. These are things that
Yeah,
happen. But
for sure.
and so I, named the named the song after the little baby that wasn't mine. So to speak.
I don't know if this is a happy song or you're about to
Right.
hear the passion of Al Strong play Lily's Lullaby. This song is taken from his album Love Strong, Volume 1. You're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. So you'll hear Lily's Lullaby, and then after that, we'll play Firm Roots by Sammy Figueroa and his Latin jazz experience. And then the news will kick off at 1 past the hour. Then we'll enter in with some more Al Strong here at member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. Welcome back to the second hour of WNCU Cares and Shares Artist Series. And you're listening to this program from the Jazz Stage. And our artist for this week is trumpeter, composer, arranger, and educator Al Strong. And that was his song. And the song entitled Getaway, which I was pronouncing it so wrong before. But anyways, entitled Getaway, you heard Al Strong on trumpet, Jeremy Bean Clements on drums, Amin Salim on bass, Lavelle Bradford on piano, and Bluford Thompson Jr. on tenor saxophone. And that's off of his album Love Strong Volume 1. So what's the story behind this song?
Oh, yeah. I've talked about this song a great deal. It is written in tribute to one of my first trips, maybe my first trip to New York as a college student with some of my peers. The story goes that the jazz ensemble was supposed to perform New York at the Jazz Educators Conference that particular year, but we were going to arrive like halfway through the conference or something like that, and some of us wanted to be there like from the first day.
Right.
So we devised this thing where we talked with the administrators and said, hey, can we catch the train up or the bus or something so we could be there? And they were like, yeah, okay. After some deliberation, they were like, yeah, sure. And so we said, well, okay, we're going to tell them that we're going to catch the train, but really we're about to rent a van.
Right.
and drive up there ourselves.
Wow.
And so that's what we did. I think it's about 5 of us in the van. And
just breaching off.
Just, we would not be denied, the experience that, that was
it's to New York
awaiting us. Yeah, exactly. And, so that was just sort of the nature
getaway
of how we did things, in the 90s. It was like, hey, whatever. And yeah, so that was my tribute to reckless abandonment.
Okay.
And
it makes sense
passage.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I can
Uh-huh.
hear in the I can say the frenzy of it, but this the energy of the song. It has that rushed or a moving type of pace to it, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thank
Wow.
you. Yeah.
So you wrote that a while ago.
Yeah.
Because your album came out in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you technically write this song?
I wrote that song actually while I was going to NCCU.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you've been holding on to a lot of material, and you decided, okay,
I do that. It's not my favorite characteristic, but
it keeps you just having a longer career, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's good to always kind of have something, in your repertoire that you can add to a project or add to a live show or something. So, yeah, that's
That sounds great to me. I see you adding to your repertoire. We talked about the education component about your life, and so you've taken an affinity to molding the minds of young children. And so there's a song on your album entitled what was it called? Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Sure.
Who wrote that? Like,
I'm not sure. It's public domain. It's nursery rhyme.
When you transformed this song, was there a story behind that? You just wanted to write something for children to sing, or?
There's a colleague of mine, Douglas Pierce, who's also a trumpeter and music educator in the D.C. area. And so the actual progression, what we call a reharm for this nursery rhyme, came from him originally. I made some adjustments to it, to the progression. So, just based on what I hear. And so this arrangement was born. And I don't know, I just thought it would, it speaks to musicians and people, alike, which is kind of, always my thing.
Takes me back to, when I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
5th grade, maybe I was still singing the song. And
right.
It warmed a little place in my heart. Thank you so much for putting it out there. Well, let's hear that. Let's hear Itsy Bitsy Spider off of Al Strong's album entitled Love Strong Volume 1. Here you are.
Yeah.
You're listening to member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. You're listening to the song that was rearranged by Al Strong, Itsy Bitsy Spider. Who was singing along? I know you were. I certainly was enjoying that nostalgic feeling of being back in the class, singing along with my classmates. That was good. So you had Ryan Hansler on piano, on piano, Dr. Ira Wiggins, one of our professors, former professors, on flute, Al Strong, of course, on flugelhorn, Iaji Hamden on drums, and Lance Scott on bass. That sounded great.
Yeah.
So I hear some kids in the background. Where'd you record them?
I actually took my laptop and recording gear to Eastway Elementary. And
where's that?
It's what is that? Austin Avenue. So
okay,
it's
so it was in Durham.
Up there. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's in Durham. Yep.
Wow.
Got the little kids.
Was it one take?
We did a few takes. It was, it was easy. It's as easy as it can be. You deal with 20-something little ones, get them to stand in place. And,
they were standing
and not stomp, on the risers, and it was fun. I just gave them a tempo. They didn't actually record to the track. I let them hear. I might have let them hear some of it, but I said, all right, this is going to be our tempo or whatever. And they, and they sang it, and we just dropped it right into the track, and I was able to go to Dr. Wiggins' house and capture him in his living room.
Really?
Yeah.
Playing
alto flute.
You mean he didn't have to leave his home?
He didn't have to leave his home,
He has the lovely life. So nice, nice. So at the end, it sounded like the song, the children were singing in key. Was that intentional or?
Yeah, it
just works.
It just, I don't know what to say. It's the miracle of recording and
right.
Just kind of seeing what happens.
Well, I didn't hear any auto tune, so it sounded like they were going
on. We didn't adjust them at all. They were singing in the same key, and it's kind of
All right, so I noticed that they didn't get any credit. No. How many students were it? 20, 30?
No, not that many. 20 at the most. Yeah.
Okay.
And those kids, I think they participate in the Kids Notes course, or they did back then.
Okay.
So there was sort of some synergy there. I think I reached out to Kids Notes, and they were like, well, we have a course over at Eastway, and I was already doing some Black History stuff with Eastway. So it just worked out.
It sounds great. Yeah. I enjoyed listening to it. So was this a part? So do you play this for your Start of Cool students, and Start of Cool is? Can you tell us more about Start of Cool?
Yeah. Well, Start of Cool is our jazz, music education initiative for children born out of the Art of Cool project, which is the umbrella nonprofit. And with the Start of Cool, it has several components. I mean, there's the summer camp that we do for young kids, aspiring musicians, or even beginner musicians, and then there's the component where we partner with the CAPS program, from the Durham Arts Council, and we go into schools and provide workshops or residencies, what have you, songwriting workshops, performance, seminars, and we've had a great time doing that. I think we did something recently with Pinecone, where they hired us to come to Raleigh and do a workshop out there, and so always looking at just it falls in line with the mission of the Art of Cool project, which is to, at least part of the mission is to preserve the jazz and jazz-related music, and so that's what we're looking at when we're entering into these situations. We're essentially creating, if not musicians of the future, then an audience base for the future of this music. So
for sure. So is there any type of curriculum? I know it has to be some type of curriculum just to keep them on track. Do you have them transcribing music, writing notes, or
in our summer camps where we get a chance to go deeper, we're doing everything from transcribing to learning how to improvise to music production, which is like one of our newest components of the Start of Cool, where, you know, the kids are basically like recording, singing, you know, producing their own music, you know, with the assistance of a production engineer or what have you that we'll bring in for, you know, for the week to, you know,
Yeah, well, where can we go to check out, or at least sign up our kids for it?
Well, yeah, you know, we do have some contingencies in place for, you know, the current pandemic, where we can still provide some services. So go to artofcoolproject.org.
Okay.
And that's Art of Cool Project, and email us there. You know,
Sounds
and
good.
we'll be happy to, because, yeah, we're kind of getting around the time where we want to sort of put out some feelers and see, you know, what parents have planned and things of that nature, and how we can be of service. So, yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
Right, and it's another notch in your belt just to teach online anyway, because most of it, you know, I'm in education too, and we had to just paradigm shift into online. So, is that
right?
Another way to just be effective, just to reach out to someone?
Yeah, I mean, you know, this whole culture of moving things online has been really interesting. I mean, I sort of joke with myself and my peers sometimes, and I say, well, you know, this is the true testament. You know, if you think you're you know, hotshot educator, then how well can you teach this material online?
Yes.
You know, and so, you know, sort of like a healthy challenge, you know, is the way I see it.
Yes.
But yeah, it you know, really shows that we can be, you know, we can adapt, which is, it falls in line with, I think, the culture and the demands of the music and jazz in particular. Anyway, you know, it's always been, you know, something that's highly adaptable, and when we're talking about the culture of making music, or even, you know, crossing genres and all of those things, is second nature to most of us as creatives. So, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's forced us to look at things from, you know, how can we engage the students, you know, but still, you know, create some relevancy for them. You know, I mean, you know, there are platforms like TikTok and this and that, you know, those types of things. But how can we fuse our, you know, culture of making music?
Right.
And so I've been able to do some of that at my my current appointment as music department chair at Sally B. Howard School for Arts and Education. It's based in Wilson, which is about an hour drive from here in Durham. And you know, we've been able to produce videos and show the kids how to record themselves remotely, utilizing Zoom. And, you know, we have them record their own videos and their own audio and send us the files. And then we piece it together with our media team. And, yeah, we've had some successes. You know, it's been fun. And
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Success,
you know,
sounds great. Man, congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in, you're listening to Al Strong share his stories, his musical career, his success, and his journey throughout this world. He's come a long way. I knew him. I met him in my years of North Carolina Central University, and I've been a fan and a friend ever since. So thanks so much for being in here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate you. You know, you've been a lot like a sister for a long time.
For sure.
And I shouldn't say a lot like, but what I was going to say before that was like a lot like myself, in terms of when you're not working, you're liable to pop up on somebody's gig and just come to hang, you know.
That's
and I think
it.
that's a big part of, you know, at least what I learned was really important about the culture of the music, is that, you know, in order to be on the scene, you really have to be on the scene. You know,
yeah,
so.
I had to learn that definitely. But you know what? You all have set that. I say you and Iaji and Bean. I mean, you all have set, and Brian, all the people that came before me and before my peers at North Carolina Central University just set the tone for really taking this music seriously. And, you know, what is the word? Just really sharing and there's a word that I'm looking for, but it's really keeping the art alive. And because there's a lot of people that say that jazz is dead, but it's not dead. It's the culture, the mentality is alive and thriving. So thanks so much for being that beacon of light.
Thank you.
So we're gonna play some more music from you before we get up out of here. It's enjoying this interview. "Fond of You" is the next song I'd like to play. Is there a story behind this? I know there's a story. Sometimes there's not a story behind the music, but "Fond of You," I think love song. I could be wrong, but tell me about it.
Initially it began as sort of my tribute to Art Blakey and his drumming. Just really raucous, joyful, hard swinging drumming. And so I came up, with the title "Fond of You," to just say like I'm really a fan of this type of playing. Like, it's been like at the foundations of like my musical approach, when it comes to swinging. It's just
Okay, well, here's the swing of Al Strong and crew on "Fond of You" at 90.7 WNCU. Burning Rubber here at 90.7 WNCU. That was the composition of trumpeter Al Strong on Fond of You from his album Love Strong Volume 1 with tenor saxophonist Bluford Thompson. And help me out, who else was on this track?
Well, that featured James Gates as well on alto saxophone, dear friend and mentor of mine. And then Lummy Spann, who was alto saxophonist. He actually played a solo on that track. Lummy is a friend of mine from New York. Actually, his dad, I think, his family lives in Lumberton. But he studied with Jackie McLean, the great Jackie McLean, and has that sound.
He has that sound? Exactly, that sound. Who else?
Who else was on that? I think
Iaji?
Ryan Henseler. Yeah, Iaji Hamden is on drums, and on bass, I think that was Lance Scott.
And it really set up that Art Blakey type of sound. I heard some of your other music that it sounded like you've heard of the song Decisions by I think it's Sonny Rollins. There was another song of yours. We are not gonna play it today, but it was definitely in the same style. So hats off to you for really sticking true to the foundation of what the term jazz is all about, but the culture and that sound. So you definitely have passed the test.
Thank you. Well,
For sure. For sure. Al Strong in the studio here listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series. And oh man, if you're just tuning in, you missed a wealth of information from this gentleman. He had Start of Cool for the young ones that are learning music, learning jazz. You have Art of Cool bringing so many different artists to Durham, sharing light about their take on music and their performances. What else have you done?
I mean, as far as Art of Cool goes, the Art of Cool project is the umbrella nonprofit that started the Art of Cool Festival and Start of Cool and Innovate Your Cool. And a couple years ago, we sold the festival arm to a for-profit entity, and so they've taken the reins, and now they're presenting the Art of Cool Festival. But we're still here to provide music education for kids. We're actually working on some other programming that would involve partnering with artists and music vendors alike. Of course, it's been put on hold,
for sure.
like everything else due to the current pandemic. But I mean, it's just great to have some sort of flexibility in the market with regard to just not always having to play the horn, so to speak, in order to have some impact,
Yes.
Really, I grew up in programs similar to Start of Cool. In D.C. there was a lot of opportunity for that. And so, this is, of course, it's just always been in me to sort of give back where I feel, kids might not have those same opportunities as I had. Just have sort of an alternative to, whatever.
You're just planting the seed, and that's important. So whoever's out there, if you have children, go to the website again.
artofcoolproject.org is the website. And holler at us there. Of course, there's Facebook and Instagram. Art of Cool Project, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. What other projects are you working on? I see you had the single Blue Monk, and then you have Love Strong Volume 1. So what else is out there?
We're working on volumes 2 and 3, as we speak. I mean, I was in the studio late last night working on a single that still planning to release in June, which is Black Music Month. And we're just working on the visuals because I really would love to attach a visual representation to this particular song that we're working on, which is really dear to my heart. And so if we can get the visuals, happening in a decent amount of time, you can expect to see that.
Because June is just right around the corner.
Yeah.
So no sneak peeks today, but keep your ears to the ground, everyone. Listen out for Al Strong and his releases of his new releases, upcoming releases, if you will. So he's out here. He's a phone call away or email away. I want to play some more music before we get out of here. I've had definitely a great time with you. Thanks so much. Well, this is not yours, but this is an arrangement of My Favorite Things. The story behind you rearranging this song is...
This is one of those that came from the stage.
Okay.
We I think this was during the time that I was hiring Zoo Crew a lot. The group that became Zoo Crew. For
you have to get
live
them in
shows.
here.
yeah, right. You definitely should. And I used to, have this affinity for Kenny Garrett and some of his work. And he had a real.
And let me pause for that.
Go ahead.
Zoo Crew, Alan Thompson on the morning show from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. He's the saxophonist in that group. So you hear him. You hear him through the airwaves, and you may have heard him play. So when he says Kenny Garrett, just think about Alan Thompson. The same sound just embodies that sound that we were talking about earlier.
And I'm glad you mentioned Alan, because I meant to shout him out on Lily's. He's actually the one playing soprano saxophone.
Yes, he was
on the intro. Yeah,
we'll hear more of him.
And actually the melody too. Yeah, it's just he's great to work with.
Yes.
So we basically took the progression for Kenny Garrett's tune Wayne's Thing and came up with this arrangement. It was one of those things. We probably were playing the tune Wayne's Thing, and towards the end, I began fitting the melody to Favorite Things over it. Okay. And then, an idea was born. It's like, oh yeah, this is like the way we do it, and it's just one of those things. It's like the audience lets you know the impact
that's where it's at.
Something has. So yeah, whenever we would sort of sneak into it, the audience would sort of be on their feet, once they realized what it was.
Actually dancing?
Dancing, clapping, shouting, yes.
If you can make somebody dance when you're playing your music, then you've won.
Yeah.
You've won. That's what
well, thank
because
you.
A lot of times we're so cerebral with the music as music artists, and we just try to get out every theoretical idea, but we forget about the audience. And so I think the combination of the two is a great thing. Dance. I mean, think about the Savoy Ballroom and, those days. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
But, I think you said you listen to a lot of go-go. Well, you grew up in D.C., so the go-go is in you. The Caribbean music is in you. The rhythms are in you. So quite naturally, it's going to come out in your music.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I agree.
Well, let's listen to My Favorite Things. And when we return, you'll be hearing the parting words of Al Strong here at 90.7 WNCU. My Favorite Things, Al Strong, off of the album Love Strong, Volume 1. You've been listening to the stories of Al Strong here at WNCU Cares Artist Series. I hope you've enjoyed this show so far. And it's almost that time to get out of here, but I think he set it up. I think he set it up pretty well, that the way that you wrote this song. Tell us a little bit more about this song.
Well,
if you can.
You know, it's like my desire to play things a little differently than you know people are used to hearing them. So yeah, I mean, I think John Coltrane paved the way for this particular tune to step out of the realm of being considered just a holiday tune. And so yeah, we just try to fashion it in a danceable style,
party music.
Yeah,
I definitely hear
mode.
that.
Yeah, this is one of those where I take liberties with the audience, on the end vamps, where we get them involved and see
Very
who's
nice.
got some rhythm in the audience. So
hopefully we'll all come to you. Right. Hopefully we'll come to one of your shows after these things pan out. But I'm interested in definitely, well, I mean, obviously we're friends, but following and seeing your career evolve even more. So that's great. I want to leave with this one last song, and but before that, when you're listening to your playbacks, do you like the way that you've played your solo?
No, most times I'm super judgmental, like more so than and I think most artists are, but more so than my colleagues. They're like, man, that's a great solo.
It was.
And I'm like,
you went out, you went in, you dissolved.
But there are always things like I can see clearly in my head the way I want to approach something, and so it's sort of a blessing and a curse of the music. It's always going to be different,
For sure.
It's like you can, really rehearse or practice the way that you want to approach something, and then when you come to that moment, it's got to be relatable to what's happening right then at whatever time it is right now. If it's 2:54 and 41 seconds or whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? So, I just always try to just be in the moment. Just
so
be
then
in the
that
moment.
means you don't write your music. Do you write out your solos or?
No.
Okay, so you don't.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just in the moment. You studied, and you just let it.
Yeah,
flow.
It's what all the greats suggest, and my guy on there, one of the most underrated piano players and organ players in the area, Joe Holloway, played organ on that one, and I mean, the dude can sing, he can play, he can write. He's just and he's also one of my former roommates from when I was at NCCU when New Res first opened.
New Res.
So it made me feel too old.
Okay.
When New Res.
just a little dated.
right.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, great music by a great person. This is Al Strong. You've been listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series, and let's leave you with one of his last songs. Well, his songs for now. Entitled Liquid, and I'm excited to play this song. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this song, Liquid. Do you want to tell us?
Co-written by Chucky Robinson.
Co-written by Chucky,
Who's
another
great
friend.
organist and pianist.
This is what Durham brings: great musicians, great people. So the song is a little lengthy. I wanted to play its entirety, but we won't be able to do that today. But we will play Liquid by Al Strong. Go get his CD now on platforms.
Yeah,
your website,
all of them.
Yeah. AlStrongMusic.com.
Or you can email me for a physical copy. I'll send you one.
Email for a physical copy at Al Strong. And you can look him up on Facebook and Instagram. Find him. Be a friend. Be a fan. Here at 90.7 WNCU, here's Liquid. I'm Serena. And stay tuned to listen to DL for Afternoon Jazz to follow. Have a good one, you all.